Some may ask this question: what are some cool common rocks you can break open and find really cool stuff on the inside? In today's episode, I'll be teaching you what are good rocks to break open and what may not be some good rocks to break open. But what is the purpose of this, some may ask? I don't know, that's up to you. It's just cool. First up are the igneous intrusive rocks. Generally, pretty much any rock from the granite spectrum can be really cool to break open. Of course, it depends on certain factors, but here's a good example of what a cool rock could look like. Sometimes they'll have giant biotite crystals like this specimen right here. Here's a better fragment to really show you how cool this rock could look like. This rock is dominated by biotite, which is the reflective black crystals you see all over it. Overall, just a fun rock. Now that you've seen the inside, it's time to show you what the outside looks like. A really important characteristic to note with these types of rocks is basically how big are the black spots. If they're bigger, they tend to have bigger and more cooler looking insides. The more fine grained, the less good it is, I'll say. Here's another specimen that looks pretty similar. This rock is naturally eroded, I did not break it, so here's basically how it may look in the wild. Overall, the bigger the spots, the cooler it may look on the inside. Another important characteristic of these types of rocks is how spread out are the spots themselves. This will affect the interior, as you can see right here. Most specimens actually are going to be more like this, more spread out, the crystals themselves, which actually might look cooler to some. However, there's one mineral you want to avoid as much as possible, and that will be feldspar, which is that pink, but in this case orange mineral. Notice how the normal areas have a lot of cool crystals, while this spot right here does not have as many. So generally, if it has a lot of this orange and pink material, it may not be as good, to be honest. Here's a good example as to what to avoid. Notice how it has a lot of feldspar in it. Here's a different rock that kind of looks really boring at first. This rock is actually igneous extrusive. Also, notice how it has a bunch of black lines all over it. Unfortunately, these types of rocks are not as common, but you can still find them pretty easily. Unfortunately, since it is an igneous extrusive, it's not going to have very big crystals, though they are lines and it just looks kind of cool. Next up is my personal favorite to break open. I'm not sure what it is, I kind of called it sandstone. I don't think it is sandstone, but I'm not sure. These types of rocks are super common, almost always magnetic, and also just kind of easy to break open, not very strong. Another easy identifier is the fact that it's black on the interior. Notice how this rock has a bunch of sparkly crystals? This is actually not common. In fact, it's usually just jet black. If I had to guess what this material is, I would guess magnetite, since it's magnetic and it's super common. If you prefer a jet black version, then that's actually even more common than this type, so have fun with it. Overall, this is definitely one of my best specimens of this type of rock that I have. I really like all this crystally magnetite, I'm guessing, all over it. Another important characteristic of these types of rocks is they usually hiss when you pour water on them. Here's another one of these rocks. At first it may look completely different. In fact, this rock is very eroded on the outside, but it is pretty much the same type of rock. This rock shares all the same characteristics as the other one. This one also has the magnetite crystals, but it is definitely different. As you can see, they're not just spread out like the last one. They're in concentrations, and then some areas are pretty devoid of them. Now, these rocks also have a unique texture that when you feel it, you'll go, oh yeah, it's one of these types of rocks. They're super common, and they come in a lot of different shapes, sizes, and colors on the outside, but the interior almost always looks the same. I hope you enjoyed my guide to what are the common rocks that are super cool to break open. Now remember, please, don't go around breaking every single rock open, because that's not very cool. I hope you guys enjoyed, and that's it. Goodbye.